Welcome to Coins Numismatic Series, where every coin has a story, and every story could be worth a fortune. Feel the rush of history in your hands. Imagine pulling a simple quarter from your pocket and discovering it could be worth thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars. These aren't just coins. They're silent witnesses to a turning point in American history, forged during a time when silver vanished, change swept the nation, and collectors began hunting for mistakes that should never have existed. Today, we're diving deep into two extraordinary coins that look ordinary at first glance, but hide stories, secrets, and staggering value beneath their worn surfaces. 1965 George Washington $quarter coin. The year 1965 marked one of the most dramatic shifts in United States coinage history. For decades, quarters had been struck in 90% silver, carrying intrinsic value along with their face value. But by the early 1960s, rising silver prices triggered widespread hoarding. Coins disappeared from circulation almost overnight, and the U.S. Mint faced a national coin shortage. To combat this crisis, the government made a historic decision. Starting in 1965, quarters would no longer contain silver. Instead, they would be struck using a copper-nickel clad composition, outer layers of copper-nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This transition makes the 1965 Washington quarter not just another coin, but a symbol of economic change and modernization. At first glance, the design remained unchanged. The obverse still featured the iconic profile of George Washington, originally designed by John Flanagan in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of Washington's birth. His calm, dignified expression faces left, surrounded by the inscriptions "Liberty" above, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the date, 1965 below. Flip the coin over, and the reverse showcases the familiar heraldic eagle with wings outstretched, clutching arrows and an olive branch, symbols of readiness for war and desire for peace. Above the eagle reads, "United States of America," and below, $quarter, with E pluribus unum, arched above the bird. But what makes the 1965 quarter so fascinating isn't just its design, it's what happened behind the scenes at the mint. In 1965, the U.S. Mint removed mint marks entirely from coins. This was done to discourage collectors from hoarding specific issues, especially those from certain mints like Denver or San Francisco. As a result, every 1965 quarter appears identical in terms of mint origin, adding an unusual twist for collectors. The mintage was enormous. Over 1.8 billion quarters were struck in 1965. On paper, that makes this coin extremely common, and in circulated condition, it is. Most examples you'll find are worth only face value or slightly above. But here's where things get exciting. During this transition from silver to clad coinage, a small number of 1,965 quarters were mistakenly struck on leftover silver planchets. These are the legendary 1965 silver era quarters, coins that were never supposed to exist. Because silver planchets from 1964 were still present in the mint system, a few slipped through the cracks and were struck with 1965 dies. The result is a coin that looks like any other 1965 quarter, but has a completely different composition. Collectors can identify these rare errors by weight and edge appearance. A standard clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, and shows a visible copper stripe along the edge. A silver quarter weighs approximately 6.25 grams and has a solid silver-colored edge with no copper core visible. These error coins are incredibly rare, and when authenticated, they can command astonishing prices. Depending on condition, a genuine 1965 silver quarter can sell for $7,000 to over $20,000, with pristine examples reaching even higher. And that's not the only variety collectors chase. Another intriguing aspect of the 1965 quarter lies in its strike quality. Due to the rapid production demands during the coin shortage, many coins were struck with worn dies, leading to weak details, especially in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers. High-grade examples with strong strikes and minimal wear are significantly more valuable. Coins graded MS-65 or higher by professional grading services can sell for hundreds of dollars, while exceptional specimens in MS-67 condition have reached into the thousands. These are coins that somehow escaped circulation and retained their original luster, a rare feat given the massive production and heavy use. There are also double die varieties to watch for, though they are less dramatic than those seen in earlier decades. Subtle doubling in lettering or design elements can add value, especially when combined with high-grade preservation. For collectors, the 1965 quarter represents the beginning of a new era. It's the first year of clad coinage, a transitional piece filled with historical significance and hidden treasures. Most are ordinary, but a select few are anything but. 1966 George Washington $quarter coin. By 1966, the transition to clad coinage was fully underway, but the echoes of change still lingered. The coin shortage persisted, and the mint continued its strategy of producing massive quantities of quarters without mint marks. Like its 1965 predecessor, the 1966 Washington quarter features the same classic design. George Washington's profile remains unchanged on the obverse, while the reverse still displays the powerful eagle with outstretched wings. Again, no mint mark appears on the coin, making it impossible to distinguish where it was struck: Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. This anonymity adds a unique layer to the coin's identity. The mintage for 1966 quarters was even higher than in 1965, with over 821 million coins produced. Combined with the previous year's output, the market was flooded with clad quarters, finally easing the shortage. But despite these massive numbers, the 1966 quarter holds its own set of secrets and collector appeal. One of the most sought-after aspects of this coin is its condition rarity. Because these coins were heavily circulated and not initially saved by collectors, finding high-grade examples today is surprisingly difficult. Most 1,966 quarters show signs of wear, dull surfaces, and weak strikes. But coins that remain in mint state, especially those graded MS66 or higher, are far less common than the mintage suggests. In top condition, these coins can command impressive prices. MS67 examples have sold for several $1,000s at auction, driven by their rarity and eye appeal. Another area of interest is die varieties and striking anomalies. The high-speed production environment of the mid-1960s led to numerous minor errors, including die cracks, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets. While many of these errors are subtle, more dramatic examples can fetch significant premiums. Off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably misaligned, are particularly popular among collectors. The value depends on the degree of the error and the coin's overall condition. There are also reports of doubled die obverse varieties for the 1966 quarter, though they are generally less pronounced. Careful examination of the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust, may reveal slight doubling that increases the coin's desirability. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of the 1966 quarter lies in its connection to the previous year's silver transition. Although officially all 1966 quarters were struck in clad composition, there have been rare instances of transitional errors, coins struck on incorrect planchets. While far less common than the 1965 silver errors, any confirmed off-metal strike from 1966 would be considered extremely valuable. Collectors also pay close attention to luster and surface quality. Coins with original mint luster, those shimmering, cartwheel-like reflections, are highly prized. Combined with sharp details and minimal contact marks, these features can elevate a coin from common to exceptional. Market value for the 1966 quarter varies widely. Circulated examples are typically worth face value, but uncirculated coins can range from $10 to several $100s, depending on grade. At the other end, superb gems in MS67 condition can exceed $3,000 to $5,000 at auction. For collectors, the 1966 quarter represents the continuation of a new era, one defined by innovation, mass production, and the occasional mistake that turns an ordinary coin into a prized collectible. Together, the 1965 and 1966 Washington quarters tell a powerful story. They mark the end of silver coinage, the beginning of clad composition, and a time when the U.S. Mint was racing to keep up with demand. Hidden within their billions of copies are rare errors, pristine survivors, and pieces of history waiting to be discovered. So the next time you come across a simple quarter, take a closer look. Because sometimes, the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight.